Gods Unchained's newest expansion, Tides of Fate, has been out for a few weeks now. It's been, I don't know, about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more. And I have had a very interesting experience. So today, I was playing a little bit of ranked constructed mode where you bring in your own pre built deck. Up until now, I've been mostly playing sealed. Honestly, most streamers have been playing sealed. I think it's just way easier content. Like, pretty much every streamer is like, okay, spend a ton of money, do a ton of work, grind ranked, and it's just thankless and brutal, or play sealed and it's amazing content and it's $2. So most people have been playing sealed, including me. But I played 6 games today. I was going to do a video featuring Azaya Hands of the Spire. It's the most wacky new card in the deck. It's the card that says if your deck is 30 different legendary cards, you get to refresh 1 mana every card after you play Azaya. It's a very cool card, very interesting, very difficult to play. Honestly, the decks I tried to play today weren't the most effective, but it did get me thinking about a few things. I noticed there's almost no new cards in the pool, in the game, in the actual ranked experience. I played 6 games, one with each god. It was kind of the idea, like trying 6 different decks with the craziest card. It was going to be, trying to do some YouTube titles. Anyway, the point is, I played 6 games, and I literally, in 4 of those games, saw 0 Tides of Fate cards from my opponent. 4 out of the 6 games. Granted, not a huge sample size, and also because I've been memeing around, these games were in Solar Gold. We're not in Mythic today. But 4 out of 6 games, literally I saw 0 Tides of Fate cards. And this is really weird. I have never, ever, ever in a TCG seen a new set drop, and then 2 weeks later, people are playing decks with 0 new cards. Maybe the players I played against had some new cards, they just didn't draw them, didn't play them. But I mean, I remember after both Band of the Wolf and before that Winter Wonderlands, the new cards felt like they were everywhere pretty quickly. Now, I am curious, let me know in the comments, do you think that I just had a weird experience? Are there lots of new cards in ranked and I just had a couple of odd matches? Or do you guys agree? Are you not seeing a lot of new cards? And the reason I'm bringing this up is it's one thing of 2 different experiences I had that made me really realize how much we need card rentals in Gods Unchained, not just on third-party sites, but like directly in the game. So let me tell you the other thing that happened. I was trying to do this Azaya Hands of the Spire challenge, and I thought to myself, okay, I'll go live and then we'll use Loot Rush and we'll rent the cards for each deck as we go. After all, Loot Rush is a great third-party platform. I've used it quite a bit. I even had a video explaining how to use it back when it first came out, where you can rent Gods Unchained cards, and it's really freaking awesome because Gods cards are really expensive, and you can either rent cards you can't afford or rent cards before you consider buying them. It's really, really nice. And so I was trying to use Loot Rush, and the idea was go live, play some gods, build each deck as I go, 1 deck for each of the 6 gods, try this cool new neutral legendary, and have a great time. Problem is, and it probably wasn't Loot Rush's fault, I might have been doing something wrong, but I was only able to rent a couple cards before it just kind of broke. I was live about an hour, and I went to Loot Rush to rent the cards for deck number 2 as I was getting going, and I couldn't rent anything. I'm trying to use a third-party platform. I have 2 different crypto wallets. If you've used Loot Rush, you know what I'm talking about. You got your Loot Rush wallet and then your MetaMask or your Coinbase or whatever wallet you're using. Like, you're switching between wallets, enabling, disabling, changing the settings. I just could not get it to go through. I would get to the payment screen and it would just hang on a little spinning circle. I could not get the cards to rent. The end result of this is I still went through all 6 gods, did my best to throw together a deck for each of the 6 gods to playtest this new card with, this 30 legendaries card. It was quite frustrating, right? I just wasn't able to do the decks I wanted. I got a little bit annoyed. It wasn't exactly the fun meme deck building experience I was hoping for, and it's mostly on me. I messed up my Loot Rush. Maybe I had something set wrong. Maybe they just had a bug and needed to fix it for a little while, but it made me realize, why don't we have card rentals in game? And right away, I know some people are going to say, "Oh, the devs don't have enough time. They're never going to do it, blah blah blah." I don't really care. Like, today's video is not about how do we make it happen? How can we do it? I don't, it's not about that. Just talking about wouldn't it be nice? This is a wouldn't it be nice kind of video. But it made me realize, like, oh my god, how good would it be if we had card rentals in Gods Unchained in the actual game? Not even needing to use third-party platforms like Loot Rush, even though, again, I'm a huge fan of Loot Rush. It would be so good. Because if you think about the two different things that I experienced, one of them was noticing there's not a lot of new cards in the meta, like strangely almost no new cards, at least below Mythic, at least off a small sample size for me. Combined with the fact that if you do try to rent through a platform like Loot Rush, it is a bit of a complicated process. If you're not crypto savvy, the idea of setting up multiple wallets, because the Loot Rush wallet is a great piece of technology, but it is a crypto wallet, it's a plugin, and then you're going to need your MetaMask or your Coinbase or whatever wallet you're using. What if you could just go in the game, click on a card you want to rent, use the gods in your account, and just do it right there? Like, signing no more transactions other than what you might have to do to forge or to enter a sealed run. Like, one click, one transaction in game, except for the transaction window, and you're done. Wouldn't that be great? I was really thinking about this, and I just want to put it out there that if Gods Unchained had rentals, if eventually in the year or two to come it was able to get onto the development roadmap and things were able to start cooking, I think it would be really, 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 really good for the game. Ever since I briefly played Splinterlands a few years ago, which does offer in-game rentals, I've just really missed this in every other card game I've ever played. Specifically, I'm just looking at my tweet to get my mind together. I tweeted about it, link to Twitter in the description, of course. And basically, there's 4 things here. Well, I'll just read the whole tweet. In-game rentals are a massive opportunity for Gods Unchained. It's a feature that improves the player experience while making more money for Gods Unchained, the company, so it's a rare win-win in the TCG world. Everyone wins with in-game rentals, which isn't always true with other things. Like, for example, with Tides of Fate, I'm adding a little extra context here. They tried to make the cards rarer so that the people who bought packs would feel that the cards were valuable and they would want to keep buying packs. But the exact same desire to make cards more expensive for the investors to hold on to and to sell makes them less accessible for budget players. And there's these win-lose kind of trade-offs. I think with in-game rentals, everybody wins. Seriously, everybody. There's, of course, going to be some downsides, and every economic system has incentives that can sometimes go in weird directions. It's not always perfect. But this is exactly why Axie is still so good in terms of their financial success. I know it's so popular to hate on Axie. I don't agree. I think Axie is actually a really cool project, even though I'm not a huge fan of Axie Origins. But this is why Axie Sky Mavis is a cash cow, because they take their money from P2P market activity. When I sell an Axie to someone else, or if I buy one from someone else, Sky Mavis gets a little cut. That's a big deal for them as a revenue stream. They haven't had to keep selling new Axies or new expansions. And while I used to think that they actually should do expansions, now I can kind of see how nice it would be to not kind of had this adversarial player versus game relationship. Leaving Axie aside, because you can disagree with me about Axie, that's okay. I think Axie's great. That's just my opinion. Rentals in Gods Unchained would make all 4 of these things happen at the same time. It would be more revenue for holders. If you have cards, you can rent them to get some revenue, some ROI on your cards, return on investment. More access to cards for players in general, especially budget players. And you can maybe rent a card for an hour even, right? Or a couple hours or a day or whatever. You can get those Demogorgons. You can get that Avatar of Nature or War or Deception. Juice up your deck on a Friday. Loot Rush is great, but imagine it was right in game and it was even easier to access. There'd probably be a lot more card liquidity, more access to cards. This would lead to more new cards getting into the meta faster. The card designers, the people who built this set, the whole team, they deserve to see their cards in the playing field, actually in the action, to see what's good, to see how people use them. It's pretty disappointing how few people are really exploring the new meta, and it's really just because of a lack of access, not a lack of interest, at least from the current player base. 14,000 people a month who play this game, and we want the new cards, but it's hard to get them. Most people don't have the money to just buy the whole set or to dump tons of money on packs. And it seems like the people who do have a lot of money are a little hesitant this time around to make it even worse. Even though this set seems good, I think hesitancy comes from past sets, but it is what it is. It's also market conditions. I believe, just kind of on a gut level, there's a lot of buyer's fatigue in crypto. People have been waiting to cash out, to sell, to get a little juice for a while, and the market keeps being, now we're having some bull market stuff with Bitcoin and ETH, but this is all besides the point. Lastly, and most importantly, because it needs to make sense for Gods Unchained, this would be a revenue stream for Gods Unchained. Why let Loot Rush, again, love Loot Rush, but why let them have that revenue stream when Gods could put it in the game, increase the player experience, improve the player experience, and they can take that 5% cut or whatever it is. That would be a nice little revenue stream for them, the same way that Sealed has been a new revenue stream. As they add these features, it's important that the company, to justify it, to get it on the schedule, to be able to see that it will actually create more revenue for them so that, the time it takes, the energy it takes to put in rentals into the game could pay off for literally decades to come if Gods Unchained truly survives for a very long time. As I said, it's just frustrating trying to use Loot Rush sometimes, even though they are doing the best out of anybody. It's just a little bit tricky. It'd be way better in the game as a native feature like Splinterlands has offered from pretty much day one, at least since I played it a few years ago. The bottom line right here, we'll jump back to the camera, but the bottom line here, Gods Unchained needs to demonstrate that there is more value in buying a pack of NFT cards for Gods Unchained than there is in buying virtual cards from Hearthstone, or even virtual cards from another game, like, let's say, Parallel. Parallel has a kind of two-tier system, expensive NFT packs, cheap virtual cards. Whereas Gods, I like Parallel a lot, but Gods is offering the NFT cards at that lower tier price to make them more accessible for everybody. And I think if Gods can really demonstrate the value of, like, you can, not just play them, sell them, buy them, you can also rent them in the game. I just think that adds extra utility, extra things you can do, extra reasons why the ownership actually matters in this reality, not just in theory, but like in practice. So if Gods Unchained's main distinguishing factor is that the cards are NFTs and that Gods Unchained is the first truly good, truly, at scale TCG to really do it at all, like back, right now it's 14,000, but it used to be higher back during the bull market. Like, if that's the main value prop, is that we are the TCG that uses NFTs the right way, I think Rentals is just building on that core first principles advantage that Gods Unchained really does have, that it is able to reward its players more than Hearthstone, more than Magic, more than other games. I think Rentals would be huge, and so I don't expect it to happen anytime soon, but I just wanted to make a video about it. Card rentals in Gods Unchained would be amazing, and I think if the conversation, can happen, maybe one day they'll really consider it if they understand that it's not just a way to make users happy and make investors happy and make the investors have more ROI, but also to make Gods Unchained actually more profitable over time. Could rentals be an income pillar alongside Sealed, alongside pack sales? Seems very plausible that it could be, based on Axie, based on Splinterlands, which I'm less familiar with these days. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. That was a little bit longer than I meant, but that tends to happen. I like to ramble. I'll see y'all soon. Have a good night. Flux signing out.